Do have some breaking news to bring you now because we have learned that Ozzy Osbourne, the heavy metal star known as the Prince of Darkness, really the godfather of heavy metal, Black Sabbath frontman, has at the age of 76.
Did Ozzy Osbourne orchestrate his own passing as his final twisted masterpiece? That's the question echoing through the halls of the music world, not just because the Prince of Darkness is gone, but because of how meticulously every moment leading up to it unfolded. It wasn't a quiet fade into the night. It was a finale with such theatrical symmetry we're left wondering, was this Ozzy's last act of rebellion or a perfectly planned curtain call decades in the making?
But it's such a sad day for so many people that live in Birmingham at the moment, live around the world, because he was truly a legend and he was from Birmingham, so proud to be a Brumley.
Amazing. What does Ozzy mean to you?
He was an icon growing up, you know. You had family members talk about his music, you listened to his music, it was on at family parties.
Let's start with what can't be ignored. July 5th, Villa Park, Birmingham, the final concert. Ozzy was rolled onto stage like a king returning to his war-torn homeland. His body couldn't support him anymore, so they gave him a throne. Not just a practical solution, a deliberate image. Like some Gothic monarch presiding over a kingdom of 40,000 screaming subjects, he sat cloaked in black, under flickering blood-red lights, and sang with a voice that had cracked, but never crumbled. When he leaned forward and rasped, "Thank you from the bottom of my heart," it didn't sound like appreciation, it sounded like closure, like a man who knew he wouldn't be back.
Just scientists call that a singularity, an anomaly. He was just kind of born Ozzy. And as far as I know, his entire life, to thine own self be true, the Greeks say. Ozzy was always Ozzy. Through disco, through foipo, through whatever musical genre there were, Ozzy was always Ozzy.
That concert wasn't just a show. It was a ritual. 9 songs, 4 Black Sabbath originals, one last Crazy Train that's now charting again for the first time since 1980. You can't make that up. The whole thing was laced with farewells dressed up as fan service. The all-star guest list, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Slayer, Pantera. Wasn't just a metal love fest. That was the wake before the funeral, and none of us realized it until it was too late. They didn't call it back to the beginning for nostalgia. That phrase was chosen, spoken, tweeted. It was Ozzy's message, tucked inside something that looked like a celebration.
Him and Sabbath mean everything to me, because without those 4 blokes from Aston, from within, the West Midlands, from, my home, I wouldn't have any of the friends, I wouldn't have my wife, I wouldn't have my kids, because they inspired metal, everything's a through line, they inspired every single thing.
But the most bone-chilling piece? The date, July 5th. According to more than one esoteric historian, and at least one podcast that's since vanished from Spotify, that date aligns with several obscure occult markers tied to Saturnian transitions. Don't roll your eyes just yet. Osbourne spent 5 decades flirting with the supernatural in his music, his imagery, even his infamous reality TV antics. If you think he didn't know what date he chose, you're underestimating him. One former tour manager told an LA radio station that Ozzy always kept a black notebook with specific dates and numbers. He wouldn't go on stage unless it passed what he called the veil check. That same source claims July 5th was circled twice. Now zoom out for a second. His final performance happens on a date, with occult whispers attached. A week later, he's gone. And in between, a cryptic post on his official social feed, back to the beginning. No photo, no context. Just that, it dropped minutes after the encore ended. Was it scheduled in advance? Was someone else behind it? Or did Ozzy himself hit post before his handlers wheeled him off the stage for the last time?
So many of us knew his persona, knew him as a Prince of Darkness, saw little glimpses on the Osbournes, but how do you remember him?
Well, I remember the man. 1974, we were both trying to forge our paths, and we actually played on the same bill. And I will tell you that the masses, the fans are grieving. What can you say? It's just broken hearts.
And now comes the industry chatter, louder by the day, but still floating beneath the mainstream radar. The so-called deathbed contract. If you're not familiar with the phrase, you're not alone. The term was coined by a London-based entertainment analyst who claims she overheard a conversation between a retired A&R rep and a Mercury Studios exec at an awards after-party in January. According to her, the deal went like this. Ozzy's final show, posthumous memoir, and the just-announced biopic were all locked in with separate clauses tied to his passing. The timing, the rights, the profit shares, all mapped out. In other words, not a tragedy, A rollout. Look at the sequence. First, the concert, then the announcement of Last Rites, the memoir slated for October, full of Ozzy's unfiltered reflections, including his interest in planning ahead for the family you leave behind, as he once said. And now, a concert film, already in post-production. It's got Jason Momoa attached as host, with behind-the-scenes footage and a carefully curated 100-minute runtime. One music journalist whispered off-record, that film's not a tribute, it's a finale he wrote himself.
So yeah, my father was free and clear, so when Ozzy and I got together, my father wasn't doing good in business, so the world was after me, and Ozzy had nothing. So we both started with nothing.
The Osbourne family hasn't commented on the deathbed contract theory naturally, but here's what we know. The Osbournes have a history of using chaos as a marketing engine. From the Osbournes reality show to Sharon's masterclass in public crisis control, they've never let scandal go unmonetized. And let's not forget, Ozzy said more than once, if I can't do shows anymore, I want one last gig where I say thanks, and if I drop down after, I'll pass away a happy man. His exact words. Public record, Rolling Stone, we checked. Then there's Zakk Wylde, longtime guitarist, close friend, one of the only people who was there in the final hours. Zakk told Guitar World that Ozzy texted him after the farewell show, apologizing for the madness backstage. Zachy, sorry, it was like a madhouse back there. I didn't see you, thanks for everything. Zakk said they ended the chat by saying, I love you, buddy, that was it. And let's be clear, Zakk Wylde isn't some PR puppet. That man has tattooed loyalty and a shovel for subtlety. If that was the last text, it means Ozzy knew. He was saying goodbye.
But the music is really where the impact is made for so many people. The music is why, people have him tattooed on there, and the music is why, he changes the world.
There's also the curious absence of backstage footage. Normally, an event like this, a 10-hour mega show with every metal titan in the hemisphere, would have flooded TikTok with selfies, backstage shenanigans, fan captures, but outside of one blurry Instagram story from an Anthrax tech that vanished in under an hour, we've seen nothing. Sources close to one of the guest drummers, we won't name names, but he's got a habit of smashing things that aren't drums, say all artists were under severe NDA lockdown. Why the secrecy? What was backstage that we weren't meant to see?
It was mainly Ozzy's voice that got me through it. So Ozzy was like the voice of reason, you can go, like rock and roll.
Amazing. So what does Ozzy mean to you?
Ozzy means metal, Ozzy means aura, Ozzy means never give up, because at that concert he was suffering, but he gave us the best set list and he gave us the performance of a lifetime. So he's the definition of resilience, he's the definition of perseverance.
And now another layer of mystique, the Black Sabbath bench. Since his passing, fans have turned the Canalside Monument into a shrine. Flowers, candles, guitars, a jersey with the message, final stop on the crazy train. But one local council worker claims that on the morning after Ozzy's funeral procession, every single tribute was removed. Not by the city, not by fans. 3 black fans showed up at 3:42 a.m., the source says. MA cleared the site in under 15 minutes. No plates, no uniforms. It was like a cleanup crew from a movie set. We called Birmingham City Council, they deny any involvement. None of this is proof, of course. But put the puzzle together and what we get isn't coincidence, it's composition. A narrative authored by the man who always saw the absurdity of life and the poetry in chaos. And if you believe the whispers, he didn't just embrace his final act, he storyboarded it. One senior industry source swears that Ozzy's final legal revisions were done at a private residence in Beverly Hills a full year before the Parkinson's announcement. That same source says the revisions were creatively focused, with clear instructions for archival footage, unreleased vocal stems, and something referred to in the documents only as the last ritual.
So, first question, why was it important for you to come here today?
To pay our respects, of course. I mean, yeah, Ozzy means a lot to us. Our Black Sabbath means a lot to us for the metal industry, for music, for Birmingham.
Yeah, I mean, it's an opportunity to make a pilgrimage to show respect to basically one of the 4 founding fathers of everything that's inspired my life.
Which brings us back to the date, July 5th. Multiple astrologers and chaos magicians, yes, those exist, have pointed out that this year, July 5th, fell under a rare planetary alignment that some occult traditions link with returning to the source. It also marked the halfway point between 2 lunar eclipses that in some traditions signify transformation. Now, we're not saying Ozzy believed in this, but we are saying Ozzy had a thing for that symbolism, crosses, pentagrams, bats. He didn't just wear them, he built a career around their meaning. And when he said, back to the beginning, was he just nodding to his hometown, or was he signaling something much deeper? A spiritual reset, a planned vanishing? We don't have the answers. But the more we dig, the more it feels like this wasn't just the end of Ozzy Osbourne. It was the final movement in a symphony only he could hear. A finale so flawlessly absurd, eerie, and poetic, it might just be the most Ozzy thing he's ever done. And if Ozzy truly orchestrated every note of his final act, then the location of his public goodbye may hold more meaning than we thought. The Black Sabbath Bridge in Birmingham, more than just a scenic walkway lined with cutouts of Metal's founding four, has become a full-blown shrine. Fans travel there not just to mourn, but to commune. Photos, scarves, hand-drawn portraits, old vinyl, even handwritten lyrics left behind like offerings. In Camilla, Acton ran the English side of, but here's where things get strange. Several fans have reported unusual energy at the bridge, flickering phones, timestamps resetting, a persistent smell of burnt incense no one can trace. Is it grief-induced hysteria? Or is something more symbolic happening?
Then what does Ozzy mean to you?
Ozzy means like a change of music. Like, it's very rare that one person changes music, and definitely Black Sabbath was one of the founders of what we consider heavy metal rock and roll, and that means everything.
Think about it. A bridge is a transition. It connects two separate worlds, life and legacy, body and myth. What if Ozzy didn't just choose this place to be remembered, but to be reborn, his hometown, his bench, his final stop? A public place permanently tethered to his name, a rock icon's version of an eternal altar. One industry analyst who formerly worked with Mercury Studios described the bridge as a living monument that now holds emotional bandwidth beyond measure. Another Birmingham native called it a ghost stage. People aren't just coming to mourn, they're coming to feel him. And some insist they do. And now, the rumor mill has turned to what's not being shown, because while the city live-streamed the procession through Birmingham's Broad Street, brass band, hearse, and all, several key moments from the route are missing in the archived replay. Entire 5-minute stretches are now replaced with generic city drone shots. Most notably, the crucial moment the casket passed the Black Sabbath bench. According to multiple fan uploads taken from phones that day, Ozzy's hearse actually stopped at the bench for just under 1 minute. That pause is nowhere in the official video, cut completely.
So you get married.
Mm-hmm.
Things get off to a pretty good start or a pretty rocky start?
It was tough because Ozzy was married and had 2 children. So after the divorce, his wife divorced him. So I would have done the same thing at that time. And so everything he had, he just left with her, which was the right thing to do.
Excuse me, and I don't want to be too intrusive here, but she divorced him because of you?
No, because of the drink. She couldn't take it anymore.
A Reddit user who claims to work for a local broadcast affiliate in Birmingham alleges that raw footage of that stop does exist, but was flagged internally as sensitive content and pulled before going live. Why? What was captured that we weren't meant to see? Theories range from the plausible to the outrageous. That a private family ritual took place, that Sharon, Jack, and Kelly left a sealed envelope under the bench, even that Ozzy's ashes weren't in the coffin at all. One video, briefly posted to an underground UK forum before being taken down, showed a man in a hooded cloak placing a small object on the bridge's cornerstone. The clip was pixelated, unclear, but the timestamp matched the procession's pause. Like a doctor, the procession's officer had approached McQuillan, had a clear picture of his face before quickly vanished. And there's more. Several local witnesses, including a canal maintenance worker, claimed that a group of private security agents blocked pedestrian access to the bridge for 20 minutes after the official event ended. These agents weren't from city services or the Osbourne family's known team. Their affiliation, unknown. Their equipment, infrared-capable body cameras and communication headsets. According to the worker, who's been with the city since 2014, nothing like that has ever been deployed for a funeral, not even for royals. When asked for comment, the Birmingham City Council simply said the event was dignified and secure. Vague, doesn't even begin to cover it.
What is it you think first attracted you to him and has kept you attracted to him? Now, we all know nobody gets through marriage unscathed, but let's face it, you've had some really difficult and tumultuous times, but what is it that kept you so attached to him?
He was so funny and quick-witted, and yet very vulnerable. And I just thought he was the funniest, sweetest guy.
This has led some insiders to suggest that the Osbourne family may be hiding elements of the ceremony Details that would prove Ozzy's exit was less of a tragedy and more of a production, not for clout, but for legacy, to protect the illusion of spontaneity while controlling every shot, every angle, every note of the final symphony. 3 separate entertainment lawyers have pointed out a quiet but suspicious clause in the media contract surrounding the concert film Back to the Beginning, Ozzy's Final Bow, a clause reserving full creative control to the Osbourne estate with no public broadcaster oversight. That means any footage of the procession, concert, or even posthumous interviews can be selectively edited or withheld entirely. And now, let's add one more wrinkle. A studio executive close to Mercury has hinted, off the record, that there are 2 versions of the concert film, the theatrical cut due out next year and a second, director's cut version, with footage the family may choose to keep private. The existence of this second cut hasn't been confirmed, but the rumors spread fast across UK industry channels after a leaked distribution memo was shared on an encrypted chat by a freelance editor. That memo included the phrase extended cut, includes legacy rights, segment non-public. And if that phrase doesn't send a chill down your spine, you haven't been paying attention.
Well, when did you and Ozzy begin to get serious? You say it definitely was not love at first sight.
In '79, we were working together, and it was in 1980 that we started. We were working together, and it just became something else.
Because Ozzy wasn't just a showman, he was a strategist, a self-made myth in leather and eyeliner who knew how to play the long game. His exit isn't just fueling speculation, it's feeding an entire new era of fandom. The posthumous memoir Last Rites drops this October, and sources familiar with the manuscript claim it's unlike anything he's ever released. Part confession, part reflection, but also, this is key, a roadmap for what comes next, not in music. In memory, the kind of phrasing you don't expect from a rocker, the kind of phrase that sounds orchestrated. From what we've uncovered so far, Last Rites may not just be Ozzy's final words, could be his ultimate puzzle. Early descriptions of the manuscript hint at non-linear chapters, recurring metaphors, and a noticeable absence of concrete dates around his final year. One publishing insider who previewed the first draft under an early embargo claims that Ozzy wrote in loops, often returning to the same phrases. Circle, unbroken, the last light, and no encore, only echo. These aren't throwaway lines. To fans dissecting every sentence like scripture, they feel like breadcrumbs. Ozzy was never subtle, but he was clever, and those who knew him best say he loved the idea of leaving riddles behind. What if Last Rites isn't a memoir in the traditional sense, but a cipher?
Given that first impression, how in the world did anything ever develop?
I went to see their show that night with my father. They performed at this club in London, and I was so in awe of what I was seeing. Again, I hadn't seen anything like that, because all the artists that we had dealt with were very slick and a different category of music, different genre of music, just totally different. And then when I saw and how electric it was and how different I was.
Certain passages, according to those close to the project, shift into near poetic prose, abandoning the usual tell-all format. Entire chapters allegedly read like monologues from beyond the veil, free associative, dreamlike, and laced with religious and occult imagery. Mentions of fire without heat, clocks without hands, names that seem familiar but twisted just enough to hide something. Could these be symbolic clues, fragments of his goodbye hidden in the folds of autobiography? The idea isn't far-fetched. This is the same man who spent decades cloaking real agony behind theatrics, turning his personal demons into stage personas. If anyone could embed a hidden farewell inside a best-selling memoir, it's Ozzy. There's already a growing online movement, the so-called rights readers, dedicated to decoding the text once it drops in October. Some believe the key lies in comparing it line by line with lyrics from his solo albums. Others are convinced he's encoded messages using chapter titles and their numerological values. A few even suspect there's an unreleased song referenced only once in the footnotes, hidden under the name Oblivion, Opus. Whether any of these theories pan out or not almost doesn't matter. What does matter is this: Ozzy's final act may have extended beyond music and into myth-making. By turning his memoir into a scavenger hunt, he's making sure the audience keeps listening, even after the lights go out.
Love at first sight?
No, not at all. I was like, oh Lord, look at them. And they were all odd and hairy, and because I'd been used to dealing with artists that were American, and they were slick and they were really put together, and they smelled nice, and you know, suddenly these guys come in and they're hairy and they're very, you know, from the north of England, and they don't look or dress like anything.
What if that's the final twist? That Ozzy didn't just plan his departure, he engineered his resurrection, not in body, but in narrative. A legend who blurred reality so deeply that we can no longer separate show from truth. A man who turned every stage, every scandal, every stumble and scream into a brick in the empire of his myth. And now, with every passing day, every new theory, every eerie tribute on that canal bridge, we're not watching the end of Ozzy Osbourne. We're watching the beginning of something else.
I met Ozzy when I was around 18, and he came into my father's office for management with Black Sabbath. So I was 18 when I first met him.
So the real question is this. Was this the most brilliant goodbye in rock history? Or are we still just playing along in a performance that hasn't truly ended? Let us know what you believe. Are we witnesses to the greatest rock and roll swan song ever staged? Or are we still inside Ozzy's final, unending encore? Drop your theories in the comments, and as always, stay loud, stay curious, and never stop asking what's real.